Testing, 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 testing. Testing, 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 testing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three, testing, testing. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. Okay. Well, I guess I'll just go from here then. If you guys are on the stream, Connor, Simon. Um, so we're going to backtest last week's price action. So from Monday the 19th to Friday the 23rd, starting at Monday, 9:30 Eastern. This chart is in Eastern Standard Time, so an hour ahead for us. Looking at overnight price action, this was Sunday's open, so we gapped down a bit, retraced up, filled this gap, and then continued to sell off overnight. So well below Friday's low and well below Thursday's low. That being said, I want to see some sort of buy side get swept and then maybe ran through at the open and just see what reaction we have there. So my initial bias would be bullish. What I always do is mark out what fair value gaps are holding, what we have inversed. Now, obviously, I have multiple time frames up, but for the sake of this stream, just going to have the 1 minute up, and we're only going to look at 1 minute inversion setups, not looking at any 30-second setups. Again, just for simplicity. If you guys can hear me, just put a 1 in the Discord chat. And if I cut off, just let me know. But right now, just for the open, swept this internal sell side here, pushing up through this 1 minute for value gap. And then we have some highs up here. So we're going to play the open. We're going to go bar by bar until we get a setup, and then we'll pause and then evaluate. Okay, so that's the open, equity open. You see we just ran through these highs here, this high, and this high over here, digging into this overnight price action. Obviously, this 1 minute fair value gap has been inversed. So now what I'm looking for is either a continuation of this, and if we don't get a setup, so be it, or a retracement and get a long setup for that trend, or a reversal. So we'll see what plays out here. So I'm going to remove these drawings. Yeah, I'm sorry about that echo. I'm just going to go with it for now, and we'll see how it comes out, but you guys can at least see the chart. So 9:30 here, I'll mark out this being 9:30 low, just to have a point of reference. The day. Continuing on. Okay, so we see this fair value gap just formed from the open. Mark that out. What happened? We tapped into it, respected it, closed bullish. So this trend is likely to continue. Slowly pushing up. Okay, new high just made. Another 1 minute fair value gap formed. Going. Okay, so in here, no matter how big or small the fair value gap is, I'll still mark it out. So as you can see right here, we have another. Retraced into it, respected it, pushing up again. So nothing to do, nothing actionable for me here. No inversions are yet to occur. Again, I'm just looking at a 1 minute. For backtesting sake, I don't care if a 30-second setup had presented itself. We're just trying to get better at execution. Okay. Now eventually I'll start to delete these the further away we get from them. Okay, so every 1 minute for value gap that's been retraced to has been respected, right? So clearly a bullish trend. Now if we zoom out, what have we done? We've ran past all this liquidity. We have a high up here that we might be drawing towards. And then we have that new week opening gap, which we are in right now. So just sitting on our hands, watching and observing. Okay, spending a little bit more time in this 1 minute. We have this lower one here as well. Still holding. This did not get closed below, as you can see. Okay, strong close out of it. Likely going for these highs to make a new high of day. Nope. Still holding. Starting to see the first bit of consolidation and chop for the day. And there we go. Right. So when you see bullish PD arrays, in this case a 1 minute fair value gap, holding after a strong uptrend like this, I mean, you don't really want to be doing anything in this chop, but you can assume this is just a pause in the trend, and smart money's buying all in this, and then you see right at the 10 a.m. hourly flip, boom, we move up about 40 points from this candle's low. Okay, there's that high I mentioned. Start to remove some of these. Come back to them if we need to, but right now these are relevant. This is digging into Friday's post-market price action over here, and then we have high of day Friday up here to be aware of. Still about 70, 80 points away. I don't remember for certain, but I think on Monday there might have been a 30-second for value gap in here that got inversed. And then, we get delivery higher, but either way, we'll stay flat on the 1 minute. Keep going through all of this. And for most people who are just learning inversions, I don't recommend the 30-second anyways. You can trade inversions on any time frame, but maybe start at the 5 minute, work your way down. Okay, so what's happened here? This is kind of the first real pullback we've seen in price today. right? All these little bits of consolidation get quickly bought up and move higher. This persisted for a bit longer, but it just wicks to the downside. Here we're starting to get some serious bearish closes. So I'd be looking for potential short or a long back up with these forming. Now here is our first 1 minute inversion that could be tradable. So we close below this internal sell side, right? We have about 8 points of room to this lower 1 minute fair value gap. For risk to reward purposes, this is not a close I would short off the bat, just because my stop would be, it would need to be somewhere up here, and that doesn't make sense. Now let's say we're taking profit at this low, going break even at this fair value gap. From the close, that's 11 points. Your stop in this case would at least need to be the high of this candle, the inversion candle itself. But I would rather, take a bit more drawdown and let this 1 minute fair value gap potentially defend my position. So my stop would look something like this. So this is halfway through the inversion. I'll put my stop right about here, just within this 1 minute freshly formed fair value gap. But I know there's a lot of fair value gap stuff going on, so I'll mark out this inversion with a different color background, just say orange. So this is the inversion, right? This is the freshly formed fair value gap. I'll take this trade. We'll enter in this case at the close, right? Being that the stop is up here, TP is at this low, and I'd be going break even right here at this lower bullish fair value gap. So sell at the close, TP there, stop right there, and we'll see what happens. And there we go. So went to profit with 2 minis. That's $440 green on the day. So if you guys want to screenshot this setup, annotate those few remarks I said. Again, this was the first real confirmation of a pullback, right? Tradable inversion there. TP at this internal low, break even at this bullish fair value gap. This trade didn't experience any drawdown, but just annotate, stop placement. 0.7 risk to reward. If you don't like that, tailor the strategy to fit you. But, you need to have a reason for stop placement, right? Not just, 1-to-1 or 1-to-2. My reason is not only is this stop above the inversion candle, not only is it within the inversion itself, but it's also within a fresh 1 minute bearish PD array, bearish fair value gap. So a lot of quote unquote defense playing into my short position. I'll screenshot this. We'll continue going through Monday really quick. And the rest of the week, I'll go through it a bit faster. But that's one trade on Monday. Some days I'll stop. I mean, you see you can make a healthy profit off of 2 minis. And if you're copy trading 5, 10, 20 accounts, it's more than enough. But we'll just keep going and see what we notice. So this 1 minute fair value gap is holding. Bearish reaction thus far, bouncing between these two fair value gaps. Okay, nothing to do here. Now, this was a close above this 1 minute. Not necessarily a trade I'm eager to take. We have established a bit of a downtrend. I'm not sure if this... So just tapped equilibrium and premium of this range. So bearish reaction there as well. This is not the sort of long I would take, especially after taking this internal swing high there. Continuing through. Okay, we are in this upper 1 minute fair value gap. If you guys have questions, Connor, Simon, just send them into the Discord. I'll read them. Pushing up. Getting a bit quiet here. We're just over an hour into the equity session. Nothing actionable. Okay, created a bit relative equal highs here. You do have, I'm not going to mark it out because it's in this 1 minute fair value gap, but a small 1 minute fair value gap here. Both are holding. Okay, a bit of displacement to the downside. Again, back in this bullish 1 minute. Relative lows just formed here. So I'll mark these out. These are quite obvious. Now, relative highs and relative lows don't necessarily stop me from taking a trade the other way. But if the context is right, if higher time frames are aligned with this narrative, which is bearish, then a short is just that much stronger, right, with a draw like that. Okay. Again, same thing here. This got inversed, but this is really just chop, right? We have relative lows here. We get a long here. I mean, this is not a clear area of price. So fast forwarding through all this, coming up on 11 a.m. Eastern. Now this is, an hour and a half in, not much quality in terms of, inversion narrative. I wouldn't be looking to trade anymore. One and done is fine for this type of price action. Last Monday we didn't have any news, so this is not a day to really be pushing your edge. But we'll fast forward to see how this plays out. As you can see, a ton of chop, still bouncing between these. And we'll just go to Tuesday now. So one trade in this example on Monday. So I'll clear these drawings. We'll go to Tuesday. All right, so like I said, I'll be a bit faster now that we've gone through one day in its entirety. Tuesday overnight price action. Right, what happened? We swept Monday's high during Asian session here. Dropped off and just fairly sideways price action. As far as liquidity, what am I noticing? I'm seeing this high and this failed new high here. Now this did sweep this high and reacted, so not necessarily a reason to push back up. But we can mark both of these areas of price out. So one high here, and then low of day, actually some relative lows at low of day here. So this is a strong draw. I'll have these marked out clearly there. And then fair value gaps, what do we have nearby? Fresh 1 minute bearish here. Another up here. And then bullish, we have this lower 1 minute here. And that's all we'll do for now. So let's see the open. Okay, strong inversion at the open. Looking here, I mean, depending how aggressive of a trader you are, you may or may not take this setup, right? This is the first 1 minute candle of the day. If you want to take it, we can. So let's, I might take this with half size and look for a retracement. We do have equal highs right here. Fresh 1 minute could be the draw here. Now, I mean, it's a strong close, but why I'm hesitant is time, right? It's time and price. Those are always the two factors in price action. So in this case, there hasn't been any real manipulation move, right? For New York Open, we generally want to see manipulation and then distribution, right? Collecting liquidity before the real move. In this case, you take the risk of being the liquidity, being that price has only moved upward, and you want to go long, right? You haven't really given price a chance to, collect sell stops, but risk adjusted, right? We can downsize to 1 mini, maybe look for a retracement down into this area. With TradingView, it doesn't give you that option to limit enter, so I'm just going to buy at market. We can pretend that that's the entry. TP just before these highs, and I'm going to have to put my stop a bit lower, otherwise TradingView will stop me out because it's within this candle. But let's just say stop here. We can do right here, let this order block get tapped. TP up there, half size. So I would have been stopped here. So I'll close this position. Now this is another good journaling opportunity. So bought the retracement, right? Bought at the inversion just for risk reward purposes. Stop below the inversion, not quite at this candle low. That's too far for me, but a few ticks into this order block. So that is my defense here. And what happened? Again, we basically bought the manipulation, right? We didn't give price a chance to really breathe there and do its thing before a real move. So we'll journal that. But that's why we adjust risk, right? We knew that risk going into the setup. Okay, continuing through Tuesday. There we go. So 930 low just got swept. This low right here. And you see the reaction. Okay, fairly choppy open. Just tap this fresh 1 minute. Remember, low of days down here. Okay, forming a bearish for value gap here. Bearish reaction. Safe to say this is our draw. Boom, gets swept. And now we have a bullish inversion. This is, not the best setup. We did sweep low day. We did inverse this 1 minute bearish for value gap, but quite a big range on this candle. If we're gonna take this, the setup would need to be something like, so this high swept this high, right? So I'm not really gonna be holding them up until there. It's done its job, in other words, right? Buy side has been swept. This trade could look something like this, right? With price, you can always make it work for you, right? You don't necessarily need to give what it's offering. You can tailor it to your needs. Now, it's unlikely the setup traces all the way down here before touching these wicks, but we'll watch it and see if it does. Not quite, no. So tap the wick. So this is something I would just not have really got into. Okay, swept internal, selling off now. Strong bearish close. Okay, another inversion created here. Another long setup. Not great price action. You see, we've been in this range this whole time. We just swept buy side. Not quality, so I'm not going to take this. Okay, yeah, just continued chop. Okay, now we get this inversion to the downside. What do we see here? Low of day as far as what's been formed recently. Internal low here. and then a setup here, finally inversing this 1 minute. If we were to go short, it would look something like so. This is our new low of day. Could look for a retracement, something like that. Something else to be mindful of, especially when trading NQ, right? We see multiple, 100-point moves every day. I'm always aware of where our nearest big round number is. So 21,400 is right here. That's a big psychological number, so there's often some reaction there. But if I was to take the setup, this is what it would look like. We'll enter now, but it would be a limit short at the high of this inversion. Stop being at the high of the inversion candle itself, protected by this volume imbalance and this order block, and then TP just before low of day there. And I always put my take profit orders a tick or two before the point of interest that I'm targeting, just for the sake of being filled. And beautiful. Huge sell-off there. So context and narrative, right? We're continuing to sweep highs that are being formed, rejecting, making new lows, right? This is a failed long, so anyone who just went long got destroyed there. And then once we finally create a bearish inversion to the downside, right? We have low of day being a strong draw nearby. Great setup. So that is, 1.5 trades on Tuesday, considering we downsized on this loss here and had a successful short there. I'm going to move on to Wednesday now. I'm going to check in with you guys in the Discord, make sure you guys can still hear and see the stream well. And we'll move on to Wednesday. All right, cool. All right, same thing here. What do we observe overnight? And again, when you're trading, you want to have multiple time frames open, daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, 15, 5. But we're just kind of truncating everything to the 1 minute right now. We are opening near low of day. This is Wednesday's price action. We are below Tuesday's low, and we are somewhat near Monday's low. This is Monday's low down here. Higher time frames, this is quite a bearish trend, right? No denying that. Continuous new lows being made. Any high that gets swept just causes a bearish reaction, right? So here you see that. So don't want to fight that trend. We'll mark out low of day right here. And we'll just proceed as it goes on. So 1 minute bearish for value gaps holding. Got this 1 minute bullish here. Then multiple down there. We'll mark those out when we get to them. So let's play the open. Boom, big move up. Inverse these two fair value gaps. We have this tiny, tiny 1 minute here. But again, I don't care how big or small it is, I'll mark it out that we are holding. And obviously this is within these fair value gaps, which are within this big one. So nothing to do there. We'll mark out 930 low as well. Okay, moving forward. Pushing up still. Inverse this. We are within this fair value gap and these over here. So this will happen whenever price has had a lot of energetic moves, right? A lot of fair value gaps have formed. So it's going to be hard to kind of clear all of them, but that's what price is trying to do right now. But you see we've inversed this huge fair value gap. We've inversed all these tiny ones here, but we're up in these now, so nothing to do. Okay, bearish reaction to this sweep, right? And we just retrace into this 1 minute. Starting to chop a bit, be aware. Okay, another bearish reaction, sweeping these highs, but no follow through whatsoever. And this is some bad chop, so I would want something like that, big break out of this. Now we're within some fair value gaps there, nothing to do. In a situation like this, I'm either looking for, well, first let's mark out our draw. We have a high up here. So on a higher time frame, this is a swing high. What I'm looking for is a retracement that creates something like this, in which a bearish fair value gap is created in here, and then we inverse that and get a long, or just an inversion of a bullish fair value gap and get a short. But I'm not chasing this move up. So I'm not looking, back here and saying, oh, we just closed above this, let me go long, after taking out these highs and being so high up relative to where we opened. That is not what I'm doing. Okay, tiny 1 minute formed. Drawing towards this high. And that is gone. Okay, another 1 minute formed here. All right, we have our first bearish inversion of the day. Now what's happened, we've swept this high, this high, this high, this high, right? Bearish reaction. And what do we have in price? We have, we have an internal low here. We have a fresh 1 minute here. And then 930 low all the way down there. But, we're not betting on an entire range reversal, right? By taking a short up here, I'm not saying price is going to make a new low of day or anything like that. But, a pullback is justified. So I'll see how I can take this short. I'll let you guys who are watching live right now decide where you would put your stop. I'll give it a few seconds and then I'll put mine up. Just, think what can defend price. Where would you be happy getting stopped out, right? If you place your stop in X location because you don't want to stomach that loss, you don't want to be left with that feeling of regret afterwards. Let's say price just needed to retrace a bit and then went to your TP. Trade size that you're comfortable realizing a loss with. And bear in mind the range. So, this chart is in 4-point increments. So Simon says just above wick on candle close. Yep. Something like that. Yeah, that's perfect. So what do we have here? We have the inversion candle high and obviously the inversion itself, and a volume imbalance there. If this was a smaller range, I would be at the swing high, but I'm not placing a 30-point stop. I'm not going for 30 points either, right? So there's no need to have a stop like that. Now, what I will annotate is that if this becomes a swing low, I'm either going break even or I'm exiting here. But as far as planned exit, you could easily hold till that low. You could hold till somewhere in here, right? I'll go just below this order block. Draw being the swing low, this fair value gap, and we'll go from there. This is fine for me to enter at the close. Whenever we have a wick that has that's essentially the retracement within the candle itself. So I'm not going to ask for more than that, especially because my risk to reward is satisfactory where it is. Okay, play this through. All right, what's happening now? We retraced up into this inversion and just ran through it. So that's a stop out, and that's fine as it is. That happens. We didn't sweep any new low. Just a move that price did not follow through on. So continuing through Wednesday. Now we have created a bullish fair value gap and inverse that. Same thing here, right? You don't want to be re-entering and exiting the same set. This is essentially the same setup. What's changed is, we've stopped out early shorts and we've stopped out early longs, rejected these wicks here. I'll usually give a setup 2 attempts. In this case, I'm going to be targeting this low, and my stop is going to be this candle's high. Same thing. I'll enter now. TP here. If this is a stop out, then I'm done with this move. Right? I'm not going to keep trying. Okay, pushing down and took profit there. Sometimes that's just how it goes, right? You need to eat the loss the first time, right? There is no reason not to take this setup. So it's not like you could have said, "Oh, I'll wait for the second short. I'm not going to take the first one." It is what it is. We'll look for another setup. We're about 30 minutes into the day. This is when we had some violent news. Again, the importance of hard stops, and fortunately we were out of our short by here. Now this did give a inversion, but are you really going to go long after a 60-point wick? No. So nothing to do there. Fast forwarding through all this. Formed it bearish 1 minute here. Rejecting that. Okay, we did inverse it. I'm not taking this long. We've already swept whatever we needed to with this wick, closed above this liquidity. I'm not going risk on here. Okay, so what's happened? Perfect. Created this small 1 minute bullish, and we just inverse that. An example of relative highs or lows being present and taking a trade the other way would be right now. Right, so we have equal highs actually here, but looking at context, right, we've had a huge move up. Like this is not, there's not some strong draw just above these equal highs. And this is also, I'm not sure if this was news. It's at 10:01 Eastern, but whatever this move was, we have its low here. So this would be a short I would be entering. we have a few internal swing lows here. I'd go for something like this. Stop high of this inversion. Sell at the close, TP just before. Now, after this wick, or after this swing low is taken, I might go break even. Right, just in case that's all the liquidity price wants to seek out. And then stop right there. Play this out. Beautiful. And that is why I put my TPs just a tick before. Whether or not this has follow through or versus we are out of this move. Beautiful trade. This inversion defended our short position. We had our stop at this high. Fairly painless, right? We didn't have any strong closes up here, nothing to worry about. And then big displacement to the downside. So that'll be it for Wednesday. And, you know, less than an hour of trading, not bad. Moving on to Thursday, I'll try and be a bit faster here. I have to go in a bit. Okay, Thursday, price action, whole lot of nothing for the majority of the overnight session. And then 7 a.m. Eastern, we got some movement, quick sell-off, and an even quicker recovery. So V-shaped recovery there. We swept Wednesday's low, which is right here. Right, Wednesday's low gets swept, big reaction. Based off of that, I'd be bullish, but we have had a significant move up or two. Wow, huge move, actually, about 180 points from this low. So fairly neutral going into the open on Thursday. As usual, we'll mark out what's holding. Fresh 1 minute there. Multiple fair value gaps in that leg as well. And then some pretty big 1 minute fair value gaps here. So we will go through this. Okay, so similar to Tuesday, set up right off the open. Now, this is where you look at what's happened just before the open. We swept these lows here, right? It's a bit of an internal sweep there. We've inversed this 1 minute for value gap here. We do have one up here that is actually, this was not an inversion, right? Be aware of that. This closed at the edge. This did not close above. Therefore, this fair value gap is still valid. This could be a trade we take with half size. Looking for something like an exit up there. Break even, obviously, at this fair value gap. And your stop can be fairly conservative. Something like that. Just below this 1 minute volume imbalance and within this wick, obviously below the inversion as well. So we'll take this with half size. Again, my stop is going to be TradingView does this thing where if you put your stop within the candle, that is, you know, currently the latest in backtesting, it stops you out immediately. But pretend my stop is there. Okay, beautiful. Straight to TP. Break even would have held here and virtually no drawdown. So that is a good setup right off the open. That's one trade on Thursday. We'll look for another. All of this has been eradicated. Okay, huge rejection there. Very bearish 1 minute close. Just tap this. Fresh bullish fair value gap. No, at least on the 1 minute, no opportunity to short this. All good. And this is the beauty of scalping, right? This is why we don't hold for big moves. I'm not, shooting for this high or even this high. We were out where we needed to be out, right? Which was this fair value gap here and still got 13 points. While risking only 11, right? That's the beauty of this strategy. So while most people are saying, oh, we had that huge sell-off at the open, you just made money going long. All right, 1 minute fair value gap here. Holding. I believe Thursday was our first big news day of the week. Now this is a strong close, and be aware, big round number. We have just tapped 21,200. Definitely not something I'd buy at the close, but in a retracement, I'm a bit more interested. I'd look for something like this. We'll see if we get a retracement down just a bit, right? Where these old highs were to satisfy our risk to reward. And my stop on this would be not even, yeah, it would be right about there. So within the inversion and just within this order block, a few ticks. I'll play it. Whether or not we get it, we'll see. Yeah, so we got that and would have been stopped here. Unfortunately, just a close above this internal. That's all price needed. Everyone who bought this strong close, that's a stop out. Playing through it. Bit of chop. Swept this high here. Okay. Bullish fair value gap formed here. All right. Inverse and closed above all this. Not chasing that. I believe we have news at 10 Eastern. It's about 8 minutes from now. Okay, 1 minute holding. Very nicely. And sometimes this is just what happens, right? We had this long setup. Fortunately, waited for the retracement, got stopped. It is what it is. Price needed a bit more consolidation. And then our bias was right, but just not the best setup. Okay, small fair value gap formed here. Sometimes these small ones are where the money's made. Just because you're not asking for a huge move in price, right? You're just looking for close below and maybe a short, which we have now. So looking at this setup, couple of lows here, fresh 1 minute here. I would be looking to exit at this swing low, sell at the close, and just for peace of mind, I would be putting my stop at this swing high. 1.15 risk reward, that's fine with me. You do need to be careful sometimes taking the first reversal setup you see. Although this is just a retracement on a higher time frame, on the 1 minute, this would be considered a reversal. So be careful. But after a move like this, right, we're way above all this overnight price action. We're in previous day price action. I will take this short. Let's go through this real quick. Stop out. Yeah, is what it is. And that is why I warn of those reversals. One more sweep basically the same setup. We'll look at this. TP there, break even here, and a stop. Stop will be just above the inversion. Looking for about 1-to-1 risk reward. Again, imagine my stop is there. And that is good. So we'll stop there for Thursday, about 40 minutes of trading. Moving on to Friday. Okay, so Friday, big move, again, happened just after 7 a.m. Eastern. Obviously, we are below Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and seemingly Monday's low. Yeah, so, we have reason to go up, right? We have fresh 1 minute for value gaps here and fresh 15 minute as well. Yeah, fresh 15 minute here. So this is a key level to watch out for. Fresh 15 minute for value gap, and then on the 1 minute, fresh 1 minute for value gaps there. So this would be my draw going into the open, right? What's holding? Boom. And then a couple here, we'll just mark out the most recent. And we'll go through Friday pretty quick. Okay, so we get this close. Bullish draw. Right, this is kind of a home run play, so I'm not holding until that high. But let's say you take this with half size because we're going for quite a big range. Right, looking for this internal liquidity there. Buy here. Boom. Nice setup there. 30 points off the open. Obviously, that's more than enough to be done for the day. But I do want to show you guys one setup. Okay, right here. So this key level, right? This was our draw. This acted as our draw for our bullish trade, going long there. But now what's happened? We've just tapped that fresh 15-minute fair value gap, bearish reaction. In here, there's although we're not looking at the 30-second, there was a 30-second fair value gap, something like that, within this 1 minute range. This was a short I did take on Friday after, as ICT would say, a terminus engagement, right? Just meaning our draw was engaged. We get that short, we have fresh 1 minute for value gap in there, and then this plays out a little bit. Right, so that short took profit. That's an example of using your draw both ways. We get a setup towards the draw, and then we get a setup after a rejection, right? Context and narrative. So that's where I'll stop for today. That was last week's price action, right? Not perfect trading. You saw some stop outs, but trading is just about consistency. Let's say you were trading the same size I was, 2 minis here, 1 mini when you needed to downsize. 1760 in one account, not bad at all, right? If you are trading 5 accounts, 8,800 profit for the week, right? If you're trading 20 accounts, 35 grand in profit for the week. Trading is just about keeping the money you make. This is So I don't know how many trades this was, maybe 10, 10, 12 trades for the week. All of them played out within a few minutes, right? And you're generally done within an hour. This is the strategy I love, and this is what I recommend. But yeah, I'll see you guys later.